9,000 lives lost in a single night. That number alone is terrifying, rivaling the devastation caused by natural disasters and warfare. But what makes this even more chilling is that this was not a battlefield massacre or an air raid. It was a maritime disaster. When discussing famous shipwrecks, most people immediately think of the Titanic in 1912. However, few are aware that at the end of World War II, a tragedy unfolded at sea that was far deadlier, one that claimed more than 6 times as many lives. This is the forgotten catastrophe of the Wilhelm Gustloff, a German ocean liner whose final voyage resulted in the deadliest shipwreck in human history. What led to this horrific disaster, and why is it rarely mentioned compared to other maritime tragedies? Built in 1937, the Wilhelm Gustloff was commissioned under Adolf Hitler's regime with the ambition of creating a premier luxury cruise liner for Germany. Constructed at the Blohm & Voss shipyard, it was originally ordered by the Hamburg South America line. The ship was massive for its time, measuring 208 meters, 682 feet, in length and weighing approximately 25,000 tons, making it one of the largest liners in history. Initially, the Wilhelm Gustloff was used to provide recreational and cultural activities for German civil servants and workers, including concerts, sea cruises, and vacation trips. Only 2 years after its maiden voyage, the Wilhelm Gustloff had traveled across the Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, and the North Sea. However, as World War II approached, its purpose changed. In May 1939, the German Navy requisitioned the ship for military use, primarily to transport medical supplies. Later, it was converted into a floating hospital for the military. On November 20, 1940, the ship was stripped of its hospital equipment and repainted from its original white color, marked with a green stripe along its length and red crosses on the deck, to a standard naval gray. When Britain blockaded Germany's coastline, the ship was repurposed as a floating barracks for approximately 1,000 trainees from the 2nd Submarine Training Division at the Baltic port of Gottenhafen, near Danzig. In January 1945, as the Soviet army advanced into East Prussia, Nazi Germany launched Operation Hannibal, the largest naval evacuation in its history, to transport German military personnel and civilians away from the approaching Red Army. Wilhelm Gustloff was assigned to this mass evacuation effort, carrying thousands of refugees, wounded soldiers, and those fleeing the horrors of war. The ship's final voyage began on January 30, 1945. Its mission was to transport civilians, Kriegsmarine sailors, and German troops from Gottenhafen to Kiel. The total number of people on board was estimated at 10,582, consisting of 173 members of the Auxiliary Naval Forces, 918 personnel from the 2nd Submarine Training Division, 373 female naval assistants, 162 wounded soldiers, 8,956 civilians, including sick and injured children and the elderly. Although the Wilhelm Gustloff was designed to carry only 1,465 passengers, it had ample communal space to accommodate more in short voyages. However, the ship carried less than 50% of the necessary lifeboats and life vests for the extra passengers. The ship departed Gottenhafen on the afternoon of January 30, 1945, accompanied by the passenger liner Hansa and 2 torpedo boats. Nevertheless, due to mechanical issues, Hansa and one of the torpedo boats had to turn back, leaving the Wilhelm Gustloff with only one escort, the torpedo boat Loa. The ship had 4 captains on board, yet they could not agree on the best course of action to avoid submarine attacks. Initially, Lieutenant Commander Wilhelm Zahn, a U-boat officer, recommended staying in shallow coastal waters without using navigation lights. However, Captain Friedrich Petersen overruled this decision and steered into deeper waters. When he received a radio message warning of an approaching German minesweeper convoy, he switched on the ship's red and green navigation lights to prevent a collision. This move made Wilhelm Gustloff a visible target in the dark waters. At 9 p.m., approximately 13 miles off the Pomeranian coast, the Soviet submarine S-13, commanded by Captain Alexander Marinesko, spotted the illuminated vessel. Marinesko, already in poor standing with Soviet leadership, saw an opportunity to redeem himself. He fired 4 torpedoes at the Wilhelm Gustloff. One failed to launch, but the other 3 struck the ship with devastating force. The first torpedo hit the bow, causing severe flooding, The second torpedo struck below the ship's swimming pool, which had been converted into barracks, instantly killing hundreds of naval cadets. The third torpedo hit the engine room, cutting all power and plunging the ship into darkness. Panic ensued. Many perished instantly from the explosions, while others were thrown into the freezing sea. Passengers screamed, stampeded toward lifeboats, and fought for life vests. The temperature that night ranged from -18 degrees Celsius to -10 degrees Celsius, with thick ice covering the Baltic Sea. Mothers desperately clung to their children as powerful waves tore them away. Infants, strapped into oversized life jackets meant for adults, drowned as the buoyancy flipped them upside down. Many families were separated in the chaos, never to reunite. Within 45 minutes of the attack, the Wilhelm Gustloff began tilting sharply. Less than 90 minutes after the torpedoes struck, the ship plunged beneath the icy waves, taking more than 9,000 lives with it. Despite rescue efforts, only 1,239 people survived. The rest perished in the freezing waters of the Baltic. What do you think about the deadliest maritime disaster in history? Should the Wilhelm Gustloff be remembered alongside the Titanic and Lusitania? Share your thoughts in the comments below.